Automation in the garden is actually something that I've been thinking very highly of over the last year or so, because yeah, as you mentioned, life for me is changing rapidly.
I agree with you. It's always good to water your plants by hand because you get a time to read your plants.
I believe that by auto watering your plants, having a timer, like I don't believe plants work on timers. I believe that in order for you to grow effectively, you need to know when to add water and when, more importantly, not to add water.
Like I was saying, Pigeon, I bought a bunch of commercial available systems and most of them worked well. But the problem is, and I would like to get this out to people, they're advertising them for a 20-gallon pot when they can barely feed water to a 3-gallon.
Is auto watering a good idea? You're here with Mark Batwell and Pigeons 420 on Perfect Gardens TV. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't heard anything about our $2.99 membership, where there's over 115 growers ready and willing to assist you through your growing practices, I highly recommend to check that out as well. Let's go ahead and get into the video, guys. Make sure to hit the join button on the bottom of every video. I had a next question. Is any possible plans for automating your systems when traveling? I mean, you've been on the road, like you do up to 10 to 15 shows a year, right? With Rob?
No. We do shows like so many shows a week, but when it comes to on location, Rob and I and Chris and I, sorry, the three of us, that was the worst way to say that, have only met in person once. And that was in Vegas last year.
I thought Rob told us that you guys are going to start doing more.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We're going to. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got plans of lots of traveling coming up. Tons of plans. I can't release them all, but we do want to be doing multiple shows a year in terms of like BizCons, Canacons, those kind of things. Meetups. We'd love to do live shows.
How are you going to automate your system? Keep it going.
Well, you see, I got a wife. And she's wonderful. No, I'm just kidding. Automation in the garden is actually something that I've been thinking very highly of over the last year or so, because yeah, as you mentioned, life for me is changing rapidly. My life between now and 12 months ago, or even 18 months ago, it has changed drastically with my adventures that I've been on through this content. It's amazing. It's blossomed. So we've been really thinking about how I'm going to be able to travel and maintain a solid garden, because I garden all year round, all the time. I don't stop. So I have looked at some auto watering systems. Thankfully, again, AC Infinity, man, they've got some crazy equipment, man. The fact that your fans are all dialed into a humidifier and a temperature gauge, whether it's your exhaust fans, I'm fortunate enough to have those oscillating fans as well. Really now, the only thing I need is a watering system. I've been approached by some, but I'm hesitant because I've always said that I don't trust a man who doesn't hand water his plants. And so I feel like you lose a lot. Like I say that with a little bit of a smirk, but when I go in and water my plants, that's your opportunity to take a look at your leaves. It's an opportunity to take a look at your soil. It's a moment that you just, like I said, it takes 5 minutes to water one plant, man. What are you doing while you're there? You're taking a look at your plants, you're getting to know them, but you can't do that when you're away. So yes, I would be looking at an auto watering system. Which one I would choose, I have not yet decided, but I'm open to input.
Everything else might even automated.
Sorry?
Like a Synganics route, that might even cut down on the amount of time that you have to water. Like when you are, because I have kids too, so I'm always like out of the house or away from the garden. I've noticed that's helped me. That's just me though.
The Synganics?
Yeah, so you're kind of using the both like dry amendments as well as so it kind of has like a reservoir whenever you're not there to like feed it. So as long as it's like moisturized down there and it's still able to communicate with those microbes to pull in food.
And that's
just something I've noticed.
If there was one product I'd recommend, I always push it, Drops Balance, just because it cleans the water. And if you have water sitting there for a while, unoxygenated, things can, you never know. And then a lot of people are going to want to add the nutrients and get ahead of time. If your wife's going to be taking care of things while you're on the road, slime can build up, other things can build up. So I always recommend the product to treat the reservoir. And just like how Hayes was saying, if you're using dry amendments versus liquid nutrients, you could go into a wick system. So it just focuses in on having a clean water reservoir system to keep the watering going. So there's different thoughts around making sure you just have clean water, and it depend. Yeah, Mike, go ahead. And depending on how you feed, but it does potentially push away from Dutch, but it will keep the longevity of the Dutch better. So it might simplify the process where an uneducated grower, you might be able to brew up a larger batch for the week, oxygenate it, and then keep drawing off of it, so they're not having to mix it more often, possibly causing a human error. Mike, you were going to say something?
Yeah, what I agree with you. It's always good to water your plants by hand because you get a time to read your plants. But I'm an organic grower. I'm lazy. I grow in 20-pound pots because I don't want to do it too often. And my pots that are in the back of the room, I've ran hoses with a bleeder system. So I don't, when everything gets really big and it gets difficult, I won't have to go in the back. I can visualize, but I still left the system there where it's a manual system. I do have to turn on the pumps. I do have 3 reservoirs where I do my teas, where it has heavier contaminants or bigger particles. And then I have my regular nutrients that I use in the other tubs.
So okay, that's a bit different then. If I was to say so you still have to, you say like you have to manually go in there, turn it on, let it drip, and then shut it off?
Yes.
Okay, so in my opinion, you're still watering your plants.
Yes, but I do have them on timers too. They're on a power bar. They could be automated, but
so that's where. Sorry, continue. Sorry, I'm really good at interrupting.
So the benefit is that you can access plants that are hard to access. Like my room is 40 by 60, and then at certain points of the room when the plants get big, it gets hard. And I scrog with tomato cages because I won't bend over for a plant. Okay, right. I won't crawl on my knees. I'm past that, right? So the back rows or the side rows, I put 1-inch water line with a ring in the soil, and I will still manually water when I have to or when I want to. But as I get lazy, I can hit a button and pump 5 liters a minute per plant. Everything's calculated and balanced.
See, and I
like
lazy,
that.
Yeah, that's not lazy. That's not lazy by any stretch of the imagination. But I like the approach. See, okay, if I could set up a system, to me, an automated system for traveling, you obviously can't use the flip on and flip off. It would have to be solely timers. And for traveling, yes, I would totally be prone to that. I just believe that like automated systems, and this is going to be, I understand that this is just either you agree or disagree on this one. This is where we would part, but it's like, I believe that by auto watering your plants, having a timer, like I don't believe plants work on timers. I believe that in order for you to grow effectively, you need to know when to add water and when, more importantly, not to add water or when to feed, so it's like, I think your system is the epitome of effectiveness and efficiency. I would love that system because then that's a system you're still in there. You flip the switch, you go in there, you're 5 minutes, you're still in there looking, or maybe 30 minutes, whatever it takes. And, you're observing, you're getting in there. But to me, an automated system is you're upstairs on your lazy boy, flipping through the Instagrams. And then, the timer goes boop, 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 boop. And then, it's watering and you're just, you're looking at, cats or something, that to me defeats the purpose of getting in there and getting to know. I just think you're asking for problems.
There
might be different.
There might. No, it's okay. Kind of going with what he's saying. There's also another product we're currently testing right now is pit moss. Have you ever heard of it?
Pit moss?
Not peat, but pit. Okay, you use cocoa, right?
Negative. I use potting mix, HP Pro Mix.
Okay, so you use peat moss. So this would still
others. Yeah.
This would still be semi. You'd have to test it, but what it does, it helps retain water, and it's washed, recycled cardboard. So you're adding carbon back into the soil. And again, this might be farther away. I'm always operating off of safety and not losing the plants. If you're going to do something and walk away for a while, you have a buffer system of some level. So that might be also adding to your media. So when you water, it's going to retain water much more efficiently. So if your trip's only 4 or 5 days, you're going to get familiar with the system. So it can, you're like, okay, I can leave for 5 days pretty comfortably. I know plants are going to be fine. And I know my wife, worst case scenario, all she's going to have to add is a cup or 2 of water, and it's not going to hurt anything. I'll be back to handle things.
That's not a bad idea either.
I was just saying, like, it is kind of tricky with those self waterings or with the automatic waterings, because the uptake is always going to be different too, depending on if you're away or not, depending on what their depending on what nutrients they have. If they're low on stuff, their uptake of water can be lowered, and then by the time that it uptakes those nutrients, it could start sucking up water. So until you have them on like an actual schedule to where you know exactly when they're putting out certain water and uptaking water, it's always going to be different. So I do agree with you with hand watering. I'm a little bit OCD. I like to get that full coverage and make sure that there's no air pockets and stuff like that, no anaerobic areas.
Just to add on to that subject, now, like I was saying, Pigeon, I bought a bunch of commercial available systems, and most of them worked well. But the problem is, and I would like to get this out to people, they're advertising them for a 20-gallon pot when they can barely feed water to a 3-gallon. And then people are buying them, putting them in. And like you said, there's no way that it's going to be where you're going to push a button, put the seeds in, and the water, everything's going to happen. If you want to go that way, it's really not going to work for you. I can save you some time. But yeah, we can tell people that the auto water systems were good, but make sure that your pot size fits your system. They will over advertise like they did in the beginning with the lights, because it's getting something that's getting popular, that the controllers and all that. So
that's a really, really good point. And I think that's the mistake that people are really thinking that, oh, I'm gonna have an auto watering system so I can put that seed in and I'm gone. I don't have to do anything anymore. Like that's the biggest disconnect. An auto watering system works great if you just can't water for a certain period, or if you can at least stay monitored. I could see if maybe, and here I'm good at giving $1 million ideas away, or at least I think they're $1 million ideas. This is why nobody runs with them. But it's like, it'd be interesting if like you had a pot that was like in its own way a probe, or had sensors, were outfitted with sensors, and then it could read the moisture content, it could read the pH, it could read the parts per million, it could read everything. And then at that point, I think then and only then, when you've got a computer growing for you, it takes out all the joy of it. But anyways, obviously, but at that point, maybe I would be a little more relying on an auto watering system. It's a good point to make that, an auto watering system doesn't wipe your hands clean of responsibility. And I think that's my biggest pet peeve about them, is that's how they're perceived.
You're not
like
lazy, man. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. You're not lazy. You don't want the government to raise your kids. It's okay.
For me, yeah, exactly. That's what I just said.
For me too, it's like sometimes even with technical stuff, it's like it's another technical thing that could break too. You've heard stories with people's floats sticking. They come into the tent in their rooms and it's like flooded on the bottom or on the floor. So like you got to waiver what it's worth. Do you miss week 8 feeding and watering and everything still turned out okay, or do you come home to a potentially a flooded basement? I mean, there's good and bad with anything technological. And of course, I don't agree with fully automated though, like AI shit. Nah.
Right. And I think like I started off as the segment by saying, it's like my approach is I love life, but I love gardening too.
Yep.
That's why I'm here. This is why I still choose to grow my own. I love gardening. There's something about it that draws me in. It's peaceful. It's a moment of Zen. It's like working with your hands. You get to look back at a project and be like, I did that. Mm-hmm. And your friends, your family can benefit from your hard work. That's something that you can't replace when it comes to growing your own. And that's why, I want to stress as we finish up that it's like, just because I say that you want to keep it simple, you still have to have routine. You still want to make it intimate. You still want to enjoy your time in the garden, because you're going to benefit from it in all aspects of your life, whether it's the end product or whether it's the journey to get there. It's a lot of fun, and you'll take it in.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence and a microbial connection all in one.
Well, if you think about it, like we're completely microbes. Like we have more microbes in us than we are pretty much humans. It's really weird. And same with the plants. They have microbes even on the outsides, all on the insides of them, all the way through the roots. And that's how they say, like when you walk barefoot on the ground, that you have like a better connection with that earth. And it's like an actual resonance that you have with the earth and the microbes. It's pretty crazy.
I 100%, I totally agree with where you're going from. It is a connection with the plant. And when we say things like, the plant talks to you, it does. And that's because of that connection that you have with that plant. You know, I can tell when it's an overwatering, underwatering, it's a nitro toxicity. If it's a lockout, you know, in most cases, you know, she's telling me the same thing. So you just have to listen. And I think by listening or getting to a point where you can, you know, talk to the plant, that's the hands-on approach that you need to be able to learn to get used to. And the more that you can either water the plant or bend and get to know and train and reap the rewards of, you're going to know how to go forward for the next one, and not just in the garden, but in life.
So as we wrap this up, just real quick question: what is your favorite cultivar that you've grown, and why?
It's a great question. Honestly, I don't think I have found a favorite yet. This is where Rob and I are very similar. I have found a lot of great ones. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'm a huge fan of the classics. You know, you got, Girl Scout cookies, your cheeses, man. I love a good cheese.
I haven't heard that in a while.
Oh man. Oh, cheese. If I was to pick one strain that I would take onto an island with me, it would, or Cultivar, if you want to grab into the latest 21st century. It would be cheese. It would be cheese. Huge fan of Holland's Hope. That's another one. But yeah, my very first ever was a Critical Hog, and it was a wonderful smoke. Now, it was my first, so I might have been slightly biased, but it was really, really good. And if I could do that one again, I probably would.
Well, guys, only on Perfect Gardens TV. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and make sure to hit the notifications for future videos.
Really, the Emerson effect is basically if you shine just one wavelength of light at a plant with, say, 100 micromoles, you will get, for example, 1 unit of growth. If you shine it with a different wavelength with 100 micromoles, you'll get 100 units of growth. If you use 2 of those wavelengths together and shine with 200 micromoles, you'll get maybe 210 units of, or sorry, 2.1 units of growth.